To understand why deep focus creates such a powerful advantage, it helps to look at how learning actually works. The brain does not improve through exposure alone. Simply reading information, watching tutorials, or skimming content creates familiarity, not mastery. Real learning happens when the brain is forced to struggle, when it must process complexity without escape. During periods of intense focus, specific neural circuits are activated repeatedly. Over time, these circuits become stronger, faster, and more efficient. This is the biological foundation of skill development. Focus is not just a mental preference, it is a physical process happening inside the brain. When attention is divided, this process breaks down. The brain jumps between tasks, activating too many circuits at once. None of them receive enough stimulation to grow stronger. Progress slows, even though effort feels high. This is why multitasking feels productive, but delivers weak results. It keeps the mind busy while preventing deep adaptation. Fast learners are rarely those who consume the most information. They are the ones who spend uninterrupted time wrestling with difficult material. They allow confusion. They resist distraction. They stay with a problem long enough for understanding to emerge. The same principle applies to creative and professional output. High-quality work does not come from constant availability. It comes from extended periods where attention is fully invested in a single objective. This is when connections form, ideas sharpen, and complexity becomes manageable. Yet modern work environments actively disrupt this process. Many workplaces equate responsiveness with competence. Quick replies are praised. Open availability is rewarded. Meetings multiply because they feel collaborative, even when they dilute thinking. The problem is not collaboration itself. The problem is its timing. Deep thinking requires isolation. Collaboration requires interaction. When these modes are mixed constantly, neither works well. Focus is broken before it can deepen, and discussions lack substance because ideas are half-formed. This leads to a culture where people are always involved, but rarely effective. Another reason deep focus is avoided is emotional discomfort. Shallow tasks provide quick wins. A message answered feels like progress. A notification cleared delivers instant relief. Deep work offers none of this in the beginning. It feels slow, uncertain, and mentally demanding. The brain, wired to conserve energy, resists this effort. It seeks easier alternatives. Without structure, distraction always wins this battle. This explains why many people intend to focus but fail. They rely on motivation instead of systems. They hope discipline will overcome environment. It rarely does. People who consistently produce high-level work understand this. They don't rely on willpower alone. They design their lives to make focus the default. They decide in advance when and where deep work will happen. They limit decision-making in the moment. They remove temptations before they become distractions. This structure is not restrictive, it is freeing. It removes constant negotiation with attention. The mind no longer asks, "Should I check?" because the answer has already been decided. Over time, this changes the relationship with work. Instead of reacting to tasks, focused individuals shape their days around what matters most. They identify the small number of efforts that create disproportionate value and give those efforts their best energy. This is especially important in a world driven by technology. As machines become better at routine tasks, human value shifts toward what machines struggle to do: complex problem-solving, creative synthesis, and deep understanding. These abilities cannot be rushed. They require sustained concentration. Those who fail to cultivate focus become replaceable. Those who master it become rare. There is also a compounding effect. Deep focus accelerates learning. Faster learning improves skill. Better skills lead to higher quality output. High quality output creates more opportunities. Each stage reinforces the next. This is why small differences in focus produce massive differences over time. Two people may start with similar abilities. One allows constant distraction, the other protects focus. After a year, the gap is noticeable. After 5 years, it is enormous. The distracted individual feels busy, but stagnant. The focused individual feels challenged, but fulfilled. This difference is not about intelligence, it is about attention. And attention, unlike talent, is something that can be trained. One of the strangest aspects of modern work culture is that it often resists depth, even when depth produces better results. This resistance is rarely intentional. It grows out of uncertainty. In many forms of knowledge work, it is difficult to clearly measure value. A factory can count units produced. A delivery service can track speed. But intellectual work often unfolds slowly. Insight may take hours or days to emerge. Impact may not be visible until much later. When outcomes are unclear, people look for signals that feel measurable. Activity becomes a substitute for progress. Emails sent, meetings attended, messages answered, these are easy to count, easy to explain, and easy to defend. This creates what can be thought of as a measurement vacuum. In the absence of clear metrics for quality thinking, visible busyness fills the gap. Over time, this changes behavior. People begin to optimize for what can be seen instead of what matters. Focus becomes risky because it looks like inactivity. Isolation feels suspicious. Silence is misinterpreted as disengagement. As a result, distraction becomes normalized. Another force reinforcing this trend is fear. In uncertain environments, people worry about being perceived as unresponsive or out of touch. They stay connected not because it improves their work, but because it protects their image. This leads to a subtle but damaging habit. Attention is kept partially available at all times. Work is done with one eye on the task and the other on incoming messages. The mind never fully commits. What makes this especially harmful is that the cost is invisible. People don't notice the ideas that never formed, the insights that never surfaced, or the skills that never developed. They only feel tired. Psychologically, constant switching creates mental residue. When attention moves from one task to another, part of the mind stays behind. Even brief interruptions leave traces that reduce performance on the next task. This means that working in short, fragmented bursts is not just inefficient, it actively degrades quality. Yet many people mistake fragmentation for efficiency. They pride themselves on being reachable. They respond quickly. They juggle multiple projects at once. And yet their most important work moves forward slowly, if at all. Deep focus challenges this pattern because it requires trust. Trust that stepping away from constant communication will not cause everything to fall apart. In practice, this fear is often exaggerated. Many interruptions feel urgent, but few are truly critical. Most issues can wait. Most messages do not require immediate action. But without boundaries, everything feels equally important. This is why deep work must be defended, not requested. Waiting for permission to focus rarely works. The environment will always provide more inputs than the mind can handle. Focus happens only when someone decides that certain time blocks are off limits. This decision is uncomfortable at first. It may feel selfish or risky, but over time, the results justify the boundary. People who consistently produce meaningful work often appear calm in the midst of chaos. This is not because they're immune to distraction, but because they have learned to limit it. They understand that attention is finite. Every yes to interruption is a no to depth. Every moment spent reacting is a moment not spent creating. This clarity leads to better prioritization. Instead of treating all tasks as equal,
Focused individuals identify the small number of efforts that drive the majority of results. They organize their time around these efforts. Everything else is scheduled around them, not the other way around. This approach runs counter to many modern expectations, but it aligns with reality. Value does not come from constant motion. It comes from sustained effort applied to the right problems. Deep work is not about isolation for its own sake. It is about matching the mode of work to the nature of the task. Complex problems require uninterrupted thinking. Creative work requires mental space. Learning requires struggle without escape. When these conditions are met, work becomes more effective and more satisfying. Instead of feeling scattered, the mind feels engaged. Instead of feeling rushed, time feels expansive. Progress becomes visible, not just implied. And perhaps most importantly, confidence grows. Not the shallow confidence that comes from being busy, but the deep confidence that comes from mastery.